going on?
Konami's Silent Hill: The Short Message is the company's first real attempt to return to the series since Kojima's PT experiment, and that's ignoring, as everybody should, Silent Hill Ascension, and it serves as an interesting parallel to what came before. PT was originally billed as a demo for an unnamed game from 7780 Studios, a fictional game company that never existed, and quietly appeared on the PlayStation Store with very little fanfare. It wasn't until people completed it that they even learned they just played a new Silent Hill game. Conversely, Silent Hill: The Short Message was dropped as part of PlayStation's State of Play January 2024 event alongside a combat trailer for the planned remake of Silent Hill 2. It's a complete, short, free, first-person horror experience PS5 owners can download from the PS Store, just like PT was, and even evokes similar imagery early on. Cockroaches, a bloody bathroom, and slightly stuttering door opening animations which give the impression something is being loaded in off-screen. It's also far less subtle than PT was, to varying degrees of effectiveness. With The Short Message, it's clear one of Konami's main goals is to update the world of Silent Hill to exist in the modern day. This doesn't just mean most of the in-game conversations happen through text messages, although they do, but it also includes inserting recent events like the COVID-19 pandemic directly into the game's narrative. It places players in the role of Anita, a teenager who is looking for her friend Maya in an abandoned apartment complex. The complex, called the Villa, isn't in the town of Silent Hill though. It's in a fictional German city called Kettenstadt, which Google Translate tells me means chain city. Why call it Silent Hill at all then, apart from brand recognition? It helps that members of the original Team Silent are involved with the game. Masahiro Ito did creature design and Akira Yamaoka composed the music for The Short Message. But throughout the experience, there's a nagging sensation that this could have been called anything else. At first glance, Silent Hill: The Short Message really feels like it just wants to be PT by way of Resident Evil 7, which makes the fact that the end result is more like Life is Strange than anything else even more interesting.
What? Who would do this?
The Short Message consists of two main types of gameplay, which are swapped between at various points throughout the story. The first is a run away from the scary monster chase sequence, which sees the player transported to an alternate dimension version of the apartment building called the Otherworld. In the Otherworld, there's a disturbing monster with a head covered in cherry blossoms wrapped with barbed wire who is constantly chasing Anita. And if the player gets too close, they are caught, killed, and must begin the whole sequence over again. This is nothing unique to horror games of the past decade, but at least Ito's designs, as always, look gloriously disturbing here. The second kind of gameplay Silent Hill: The Short Message includes are fairly standard first-person walking around exploration segments. The player has no real inventory, only a cell phone which pulls triple duty as a communications device, a flashlight, and the menu screen you use to read any of the many documents you find in the environment. The controls consist of being able to look behind yourself with L1 or R1, squint and zoom in to something far away with R3, and the ability to walk with the left stick. Everything else is relegated to just contextual button presses of X. The Short Message, when it isn't showing animated human faces, looks fantastic. The transition effects from the normal world to the other world are impressive, with normal hallways suddenly fluttering to life like a stadium full of people performing the wave with massive eyeball posters. It also makes heavy use of the FMV sequences, which is interesting, typically for flashbacks, in a way that makes these moments feel, likely deliberately, somewhat detached from the characters in the game proper. Given how Anita looks and animates in the cutscenes where the player is no longer in first person, this is probably for the best. Silent Hill: The Short Message has something to say. In a PlayStation blog post accompanying the game's launch, producer Motoi Okamoto stated that the team ended up looking at how much modern youth communicate online and through phones, and the role that could play in a psychological horror story. There's a moment early on in The Short Message where Anita stares at her friend's social media page and laments the fact that she's gaining followers while Anita herself keeps losing them. Nasty comments from strangers, online trolls, and from people she trusted appear both on her screen and in the graffiti and post-it notes that cover the apartment complex's walls. It's a story about how small things can build over time, how people become overwhelmed but hide their fears and frustrations from others, how just because someone looks like they have their life together, it doesn't mean they actually do. It's a story about characters and consequences, and about suicide and struggling to stay out of the spiral suicidal thoughts can bring. It's about how one form of trauma can beget another, even when we try hard to keep that from happening. And because the story has a Silent Hill in the title, there's also one really slightly frustrating puzzle section that seems thrown in just for the sake of including a bit of, actual gameplay. How well it handles these topics will vary depending on a person's own relationship with them. For what it's worth, as someone who struggled with suicide for the first 2 decades of my life, I thought Silent Hill: The Short Message ultimately did a good job in both its depiction and its ultimate message regarding the issues. It's a shame the gameplay didn't offer much on top of that. For a free game that shows the first glimpse of what Konami is truly going to do with the franchise, Silent Hill: The Short Message is absolutely worth experiencing. That's not to say it's perfect. The walk around and find the only interactable object in the room gameplay brings nothing new to the table, and after being caught by the monster 1 or 2 times, the escape room segments become far more tedious than they do actually scary, especially the final one where you have a little grab and find all the pictures section. The dialogue is a bit too on the nose, and all those social media references that seemed pretty important in the beginning are quietly shoved to the side once the real story reveals itself. That all being said, it's far better start than it could have been for Silent Hill, and it's undeniably the best new Silent Hill media since 2014. If you're interested in that, and you have a PlayStation, there's no reason not to check it out. Silent Hill: The Short Message is available to download for PS5 owners for free on the PlayStation Store. Thanks for watching.